Directors of the LCRA Transmission Services Corporation. Today is Wednesday, January 28, 2026, and the time is 12:48. A quorum is present, and the General Counsel will record each director who is in attendance. Do we have any guests today? Anybody signed up to speak? Okay. If you would like to comment on any LCRA TSC matters today, please sign in at the registration table in the lobby and let us know you're here. Nobody here. Okay. Item 2, financial report, Mr. Jim Travis. Howdy, Jim.
Good afternoon. If you'll turn behind item number 2, it's the financial highlights, and I'll walk you through the fiscal year-to-date numbers for Transmission Services Corporation, as well as the current forecast for fiscal year in 2026. Overall, TSC had a strong first half of the year, and it's currently forecast to manage expenses to partially offset the impact of lower than budgeted billing units driven by the lower 4CP we experienced this summer, being a cooler summer than we had forecast for this business plan. On page 1, chart A, we show net margin for the fiscal year. Net margin is revenues less expenses, but before debt service. Total LCRA TSC year-to-date net margin is $20 million, or about 8% better than budget. Year-to-date revenues are higher than budget by about $7.4 million, due primarily to better than budget interest income, partially offset by lower other revenues. Year-to-date expenses are lower by about $12.8 million, due primarily to lower assigned enterprise, lower labor, and lower transportation expenses. The expectation is for year-end favorable net margin, as shown by the blue diamonds, of about $1.5 million, or just under 1%. Revenues for fiscal year-end are expected to be higher by $2.6 million due to lower cost of service revenues of about $15 million, but are offset by higher interest income of $11.5 and higher miscellaneous revenues of $6.2 million. Expenses are currently forecast to be higher than budget by about $1 million, or less than 1%, due to higher outside services, but those are offset by lower transportation, labor, and miscellaneous expenses. On chart B, you'll see that we currently expect LCRA TSC to end the year slightly higher than the business plan debt service coverage target of 1.38, and we expect that to be about a point better at 1.39. That's driven by the forecasted net margin I just talked about, plus lower than budget debt service that we're experiencing so far this year. On page 3.
Hey, Jim, may I ask you
yes,
a question, please?
Sure.
Regarding our debt service coverage ratio,
Yes,
at some point, do we anticipate that to become flatline? Or will it always be a variable depending on inputs, outputs?
It's a variable depending on your net margin and your debt service.
Well, in regards to that, do we look at it in terms of trying to get it to flatline at some point, as opposed to keep the trend going down to almost to our 125? I mean, it's not close to our 125. I'm just curious how we view that and stuff.
We'll monitor that. That also, if you see a trend trending lower, that puts you in a position to where you're probably going to need a rate case, and we'll talk about that when we get into our business plan discussion in April. And if you look at the 2026 business plan, you can kind of see where that coverage, those coverage targets go. But as we continue to build, continue to spend money on debt, issue debt, and that debt service goes up, you will see a trend lower. But that also depends on a lot of other variables, like you said, on the inputs as well, on revenues and expenses, net margin.
Questions?
On page 2, You'll look at capital spending year-to-date and forecasted for fiscal year end. As you see on the chart, the forecast for the capital expenditures, as of the date of this forecast, indicates that we expect to exceed the board-approved budget of $1.35 billion by about $40 million. As we progress through the second half of the year, project estimates will change, as well as timing, shift in the timing of some of those expenditures, which will make this number can go up or down. We'll continue to monitor, and if we expect that to exceed the budget, the approved budget number, we'll bring back a request for an amendment prior to year end. The President and CEO approved 3 budget resets in the last quarter and 8 new projects. Board metrics are on page 3, and all are in compliance. We've got detailed financial statements, summarized financial statements on pages 4 through 6, and debt and investment information's on page 7. Be glad to answer any questions you may have on TSC financials.
Questions, comments? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Jim. Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. Okay, moving along, item 3. We have a consent agenda. If you look on page, it's for action, consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, second.
Second.
It's for the minutes, excuse me. Catching up. Any comments, corrections, additions? All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes.
Aye.
Very good. Well, now I'll move to the action items. Okay. Mr. Cole, there you are for
Yes,
a
sir.
capital improvement project approval.
Afternoon, Chair Cooper, members of the board. I've got item number 4. I think that's on page 11 of your LCRA TSC board section of your board book. We've got 2 projects for your consideration today. One service reliability and one system capacity project. Just as a reminder, after board approval of the total annual budget that Jim just referenced, we bring individual projects to the board once we further develop the scope and the budget for consideration for approval on an individual basis. LCRA TSC regulated rates will fund the cost of these projects upon completion and consideration and approval by the Public Utility Commission. I'll walk through each one. Please stop me if you got questions. First up, we've got mobile substation FY 2026 power transformer addition. This will purchase a new mobile substation to add to the LCRA TSC power transformer fleet. This will be the 8th of these mobiles, as we call them, or mobile substations in the fleet. Though notably, the oldest one we've got right now was originally purchased in 1957. And so we want to get new assets into the fleet as the system grows and those 1957 vintage near their end of life.
Is that the one we're using at the Kerrville station? Or?
Absolutely. So these have multiple uses. One's to do capital projects. The other is in backup and in case of emergency. So if you recall, one of the many ways LCRA was able to help our neighbors out in Kirk County after the horrific flooding last summer was to roll one of these mobile substations out and set there for about 2.5 months at the Hunt substation to provide reliable power to the folks in that area while more permanent repairs were being made.
Wow, 1957. I was born in 56, that is old, yeah.
Recommended completion date is June 30th of 2028, estimated cost of $7.9 million. Next up, and finally, we've got the Alfred Substation Addition. This will construct a new 138 kV substation in Upton County, southeast of Midland. Generally speaking, it's needed to maintain reliable service in the region as that area sees continued load growth. The scope will include construction of the substation and necessary circuit breakers, structures, and other equipment necessary to interconnect with nearby transmission lines. Recommended project completion date is December 31st, 2026. Estimated cost of $34.5 million.
Any questions, comments? Is that it, Josh?
Yes, sir, that's all.
Okay,
Just the 2 today.
just the 2. I want to make sure, nothing else hiding.
It's unusual.
Yeah. This is, total, okay, well, I will entertain a motion on agenda item number 4.
Second.
Any further questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Okay. And I do believe there is a need to go into executive session we talked about earlier.
Yes, sir. We will
Okay.
provide legal and regulatory advice to the board.
Okay, well, at this time, we'd ask any staff and guests may be excused while the LCRA TSC board goes into executive session. And I'll start reading. Okay. We will go into executive session of the LCRA TSC Board of Directors pursuant to sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076, 551.086, 551.089, and 418.183F of the Texas Government Code. Today's date is Wednesday, January 28th, 2026, and the time is 12:50. Okay. We have concluded the executive session of the LCRA TSC Board of Directors. And now return to open session. Today's date is Wednesday, January 28th, 2026, and the time is 1:57. Is there any other items come before this board today? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned at 1:57.